Hello and welcome to this webinar on how to train your employees on cybersecurity. So this is a huge area, but we're going to try and condense this all into this webinar that should take about sort of 20 to 30 minutes. So and we will have questions and answers at the end. So please do use the Q&A chat and I'll come to those questions at the end. So my name's Giles. There's my details. I will share them with you towards the end as well in case you've got any questions as we go along. So the thing is, first and foremost, what we say about cybersecurity is unless people have actually seen or felt a big cyber attack, the problem is people just think that the world is a lovely, safe place. But what they have to understand is that if one employee clicks the wrong link, it could be the whole company that could be at risk. And this is what people really do need to just understand. As I say, hopefully you've got great cyber defenses and you've got cyber insurance and all those sorts of things, but it is a big, scary world and it is getting worse and worse. So. Okay, so first of all, let's really look at what systems that you can put in place. So the key to training your team is building out the systems that will work for you as the business. It's pointless creating systems that you as the business are never going to follow. So you need to really make sure how does the business run at the moment? What meetings do you have? What communications do you use? What is the team using all the time? And then create it around that. A basic thing would be if you're normally using Microsoft Teams for your communication channels internally, don't set up lots of training using Google Meets or Zoom. You're much better off to just try and build it around the communication that the business is already using. Then you've got a lot less chance of it failing. But how do you get your current team up to speed? This is the question. So how do you ensure that all new people that start within the business they dovetail into the current training, but also how do you get them up to speed as well? So it really needs to be a part of the entire business. So you've got one side, which is cybersecurity as a whole, day to day, week to week, month to month. It's that side of things. But then the next element is if you get a new member of the team, you don't know how good their awareness is of the cyber threats that are out there. So you really need to look at building that into your onboarding process as well. So then when you get a new member of the team in, you know that over the next X weeks or months, they're going to gradually get up to speed where hopefully the rest of your team is at a really good baseline. So just don't think about the existing team. Make sure that you build this into your onboarding process as well. But remember, the level of protection is only as good as its weakest link. This is the number one rule with any type of cybersecurity or protection. So you need to think about how, first of all, you're going to ensure the whole team is trained. And if you've got some people in the office, some working remotely, some may be out doing deliveries in vans or out on the road making sales, you need to just come up with a way of making sure that everyone is touched by it. Because still the number one way that companies are hacked, 84% of cyber threats or cyber attacks happened as a result of human risk, human error. And that was whether there was someone that was out on the road using a phone or a tablet, or whether it was someone inside an office connected to a main server. So literally it can touch all parts of the business. So it really is, to say, first and foremost, how do we train the existing and build the onboarding to dovetail in? And then secondly, what can we do to make sure that the entire team, and that includes contractors as well, don't leave them out. So a big thing that we start with is hopefully no one within your business is going to purposely do anything, but naturally people are relatively lazy, as in they're probably busy in their day-to-day role, cracking on trying to fix things or sell or whatever it is they do. So they might not make the time unless you really try and enforce it. But you need to continually reaffirm and remind them of the dangers. One thing we know that doesn't work is to put everyone in a room, train them to the nth degree all day, and then expect them to remember that in 2 years' time. It's just not how it works. People go back to their comfort zone. So what it's all about is that it continuously needs to be a part of the fabric of the building. Exactly the same as you would expect people to lock the door every day when they leave the office and put the alarm on. That's kind of, because it's just a thing that people do, isn't it? That's what you want cybersecurity to be, so embedded in their psyche that that is how they feel about it. They know it's a risk and they're going to continually try and keep that risk at bay. So it's all about continuously, regularly training. It's the only way to keep it at the forefront. But is it your fault or is it their fault about their lack of knowledge and the varying levels of skills? So you as a business, you need to not only protect yourselves from the risk of you being hacked, but here's the thing, it's also what we call the daisy chain effect. So let me try and explain how this works. So imagine you've got a member of your team click on some kind of tracker that embeds within your network. It then sends out a spoof link to one of your customers, resulting in them being a victim of a ransomware attack. So first and foremost, this is obviously going to cause quite a bit of reputational damage. Your relationship with that client is also going to be in danger. But here's the biggest risk. If that company has got cyber insurance, and that company was they were training people, they had good systems in place, they had a good baseline of cybersecurity, what will happen is they're then going to look at how did it happen? How did the breach happen? They'll then find that it came from you. They will then, first and foremost, they'll pay their liability to their customer, but they will then come after you for compensation. And you then need to show them that you took every step you could to avoid the cyber attack. And as long as you did and you can show that, then it will be fine. But if you can't and you say, oh, well, we just assumed that our team members all knew what they were doing, or, we didn't bother to update our antivirus because, nothing like this happens, it won't wash. And that cyber insurance company will come after you. So you just need to be really, really mindful that is one of the big dangers to companies out there. And look, there's never going to be 100% guarantee that you won't be hacked or that you won't cause some ripple effect to someone else. There's the way that it is and the evolution of cyber threats, but you can try and minimize that human risk. And the only way to do it is by making it a part of the culture and training your team. The other thing to note is that AI has massively accelerated the risks, because instead of, let's say 20 years ago, where there was a person in a dark room that would try and hack into someone, we then created automation scripts and things so that they would try more regularly to do it. But now with AI, they're trying it more regularly, but the ways that they can do it, it's just insane, the trickery that they can use. So you just need to be really aware of it. An example would be now the voice side of things with cyber attacks is insane. As in, scenario would be they gain access to your telephone system. They're then listening to how, let's say, the owner of a business talks on the phone. That will then learn the language that they use. They then make a phone call to the accounts person within that business, and that accounts person thinks they're talking to the owner. And the owner says, hi, I need to make a transaction of £5,000 for this amazing new marketing system. And the thing is, they will do it in the language that the owner would normally use. That person then will be duped and they would then make the payment. Because, of course, the person that's on accounts won't necessarily understand, oh, I didn't know AI could do that. Oh, that's amazing, that is. That's what you don't want. You want that person to always second guess everything. And that's really the key to the awareness training. It's looking at all the risks and that person just stepping back slightly and just going, oh, I'm not sure if this is 100% right. It's slightly out of character. I'm just going to email or text message the owner just to double check that it was them that phoned me. And this is what it's all about. So it's about those different threats, the way that cyber criminals are, using AI or using technology to really trick the system. And remember, the biggest risks of tomorrow are being invented today. And that's really why we're trying to be on that cusp of really understanding what those threats are. So just, it is a scary world. Don't worry. I hope you can still sleep well at night. But there are so many different ways that the cyber criminals are coming up with, ways of tricking people. So, and then the really big thing is what we would say, just talk openly and freely about cyber threats. Don't make it one of those sort of dark little secrets. If someone's not sure if they've just received a dodgy email or, some kind of request that they're not sure of, don't sort of chastise them about it. It should be, actually they're asking their colleagues, oh, can you just have a look at this? Do you think it is real? I'm not sure if it's real. Better protected together. That's what it's all about. The knowledge that people can share around your business. And also try and build out those sharings. Do you have an intranet that you could share some of these findings? Do you do monthly team meetings? Do you do weekly meetings? All of those sorts of things. Try and get as much of that knowledge shared within the business as you can. It should be one of your main priorities. Here's a few little things that we've come up with, that some of the attacks that have happened that you might not even be aware of, but it is amazing how sort of, when you think about some, they're quite genius how they come up with them. But anyway, let's have a look. So first of all, one that was really, really big last year was the way that a cyber attacker will effectively, inadvertently get your customers to pay them. So what there was a lot of evidence of was that someone would break into someone's network. They would log into their accounting system, and all they would do is they would log in, go to the template that the invoices are sent by, and change the bank details to the cyber company's account details. That's it. And then they would log out and there'd be hardly any trace that it ever happened. The only traces that you might see is that you might have on the template, you could see when it was last changed and saved if you've got versioning switched on. But that's a really, really sneaky way. And then, of course, the problem with that one is you don't know when it happened. So you're sending out your invoices as normal. Well, it could be a month or two that you then start, actually, people aren't paying us. You then go back to them customers and start sending them statements and saying, hi, you haven't paid. They then say, oh, actually, we have paid. Here's the proof we've paid. Bang. You then find out that that's the problem. So that one, again, is it's a horrible one because of the time gap. And then who's at fault? And unfortunately, you as the business are probably at fault because the customer has paid the invoice. So again, just be careful with that. Another one. So Internet of Things. This is essentially anything at all that you have that connects online. That is classed as IoT, Internet of Things. And remember, you might buy something like a kettle. You might have got a kettle for Christmas that has got an app on it that you can turn it on remotely. So when you're, wake up in the morning, you click the app, it then turns on the kettle. So you go downstairs and make a cup of coffee and the water's already boiling. Great. What a fantastic invention. Really, really good. Problem is the software that you've just installed on your device and effectively put it on your network. How good is it? Have you checked it? There could be a backdoor written into that. So you've got to be really, really careful. But here's the other thing. How good is the security of that app? So the app and the device might be clean, but if the security is wide open on it, someone could hack in. Here's a really good one. Happened to a casino in America. And believe it or not, they actually got in through a fish tank thermometer. So this is what happened. So the hackers breached into a Las Vegas network by using an internet connected thermometer in a fish tank in the lobby of their hotel. They gained access to the casino's internal systems and basically got into their data before anyone had noticed. And this just shows how an even harmless looking smart device can become the back door to something that employees would never worry about. They thought that this thermometer was doing good and it was going to help the fish and it was going to make sure that the water stayed the right temperature and everything, but actually ended up in a massive cyber loss. So again, there are ways that you can ring fence these sorts of devices. So there are fixes for it, but don't just go willy-nilly doing it. Another one, coffee machine ransomware attack. An office in Italy had a smart coffee machine connected to the office Wi-Fi. Hackers gained access to the coffee machine and used it as an entry point to deploy ransomware across their entire network. Literally, in under 4 seconds, they encrypted the entire network, all of their data and everything. And that was just for a coffee machine. So they encrypted all their company files and demanded ransomware. And they did actually win, as in the company did pay the ransom. So what we didn't manage to find out was if they did unencrypt all of their data. But again, just goes to show, doesn't it? Everyday appliances. And then my final sort of sneaky section is the hack that started with a refrigeration engineer. So this was, again, happened in America. It was in 2024, and it was by Target. So as in Target, the big superstores over in America. So they had a huge data breach and it affected 40 million customer records. So basically it started with a phishing email that was sent to a small air conditioning repair company. So that was the engineer. The hackers that used that access to infiltrate Target's network, because essentially they got into some of their equipment, and the equipment that the engineer used to plug into Target's network to then fix and monitor their refrigeration systems. So again, it was looking at the smaller contractors that might have access to the bigger contractors. So it's really interesting because it wasn't actually Target's employees. So it's more just that understanding and asking those questions. If you're using contractors that are connecting to your networks, are you asking the questions, and do you know how clean and legitimate they are? So yeah, just a few little sneaky examples of, you would be amazed some of the ways that these people or the hackers will use, so, and again, but there are tools and variances of cybersecurity products that will have stopped or at least slowed down these things happening. So, and then the next thing I just thought I'd go through is a couple of good examples of phishing emails that have been sent, detected, and then reported upon. So the first one, again, we're based in the UK, so EE is one of the most dominant networks. Again, a lot of the world, EE could be T-Mobile, for example. But again, it's asking about the payment. Now, the actual email itself is literally bang on point. But what you'll notice with that one is that the email address that it's come from is completely wrong. And that, again, is one of the first things that you should be training your teams on. Is first and foremost, is it from the correct email address? If it's from Amazon, for example, generally it should be amazon.com, not amazon.uk or Amazon. It's about knowing those kind of things. And really, if it is different, it's just making sure that you double check. First rule we'd always say of emails, anything wrong with billing, never ever use a link within an email. Even if it is the correct company doing it, you should always open up your web browser, manually log into your account, and then if there is a problem with billing, it will show you in there. So again, it's just one of those training things. Never ever use links within emails unless you're 100% sure and the risk is minimal. It's the big thing. Again, other emails, Amazon is the biggest and easiest one to go after, because the way that you It's about tricking people when they're in flow. So, for example, you think how many thousands and thousands of transactions are happening with Amazon every minute. The chance of me sending an email in at the exact or within half an hour of you ordering on Amazon is relatively high compared to most other companies. So, in which case, if I send in an email saying, you've just ordered this, there's an issue with X, Y, or Z, you're probably going to go, yeah, I did actually. Yeah, click, because you're not even thinking about it. You're just in that flow, aren't you? You're just like, yeah, I did actually just order. Oh my God, look what I've just done. And that's the key, you see. It's about once people learn and understand that, it's like, just about to click. No, I'll log into my Amazon account and I'll check. And if there is an issue, it will show me in there and it'll be correct. So again, there's a lot of streaming services. They will always try and do that. So the big ones, Netflix, and any of the really big brands, they are probably going to be the number one targets. So again, things like Netflix, streaming services, super easy. People are using them day in, day out. They trust the services. This is the big thing. They trust Netflix. The problem is it's just people will mimic Netflix, so they'll sit on the back of that trusted element. So again, in the UK, we've got TV licenses. You're going to get something with a question. It's just that whole thing of there'll be an action there that seems relatively harmless, but it's the fact that when you click on that, it won't necessarily just be a link. It will be an executional file. So, for example, when you try and install some software, you click on that download now or execute now. That's what it is. So when you click, you think you're clicking on a link. You're not. You're actually clicking on an executional. So, and this is where having a really good spam filter in place would filter it and go, wait there a minute. That's a downloader. That's an installer within that email. I don't like it. It's going to push it to spam. If you don't have a decent spam filter, it will make its way into the mailbox. And this is where there's training and systems you can do for your staff, but there's also software and security, cyber security software that will also help them even more because it minimizes what goes in. An example would be, let's imagine there's 1,000 hits a month to your company from bogus sources. Well, if we can hit 95% of them by a spam filter, then you're only left with the 5%, and that's where the human risk comes in, and then we can train them and make sure that they always double check it. So and then another one, utility bills, another sort of simple one that people can, it's very easy to kind of mimic. So we then come to, so what is the answer? What's the ultimate answer? So first of all, we've got the two sides to it. One is have really good cybersecurity software protection on your devices and on your main inbound traffic. So for example, emails that are coming in, a really good hosted spam filter is so worth the money. Also, it even saves you time because it will filter out all the emails. You can just really quickly run your eye down it and go, yeah, they are all junk, delete those. If you see one that's good, you can just release it. So first of all, a spam filter will genuinely pay for itself because it's going to make you so much more efficient. Instead of having 50 emails a day, you'll actually have 20 come into your mailbox, and then you'll have 30 that will be kept in the spam filter that you can probably just run your eye over really quickly and then just delete them or release as required. So there's that side of things. And then the next side is the human risk element. And this is where the only way it works, and this isn't just us saying it, this is all the different trials and everything. They have all said that cyber training should be one, easy for anyone to understand. So it should never be too complex. It shouldn't use big buzzwords. And the other thing is that it should be regular and frequent. It's that constant reminder, constantly. So what we recommend and what we can actually provide is cyber training in terms of every month. We can do it differently, but what's the baseline that is agreed on is monthly training on different areas within cyber threats. So this is, whether it's internal, whether it's using public Wi-Fi, whether it's talking about again, I said IoT, so Internet of Things, using devices that are connected to the internet, all areas of that, different short, sharp training. And when we say short and sharp, kind of 5 minutes ish. If it's longer than 10 minutes, it's then taking people away from their work and it distracts them. Whereas if it's 30 seconds long, it's hardly worth watching. So around sort of 4, 5, 6 minutes is ideal really for your training videos. And then the next thing is the testing part. Now, the testing part is good because if they do click on it, they'll then get told, this was a test. Here's a training video for them to watch, quick quiz to show that they've watched it, and away they go. But the real power of it is no one wants to be the one that clicks on it. So they will, they know that they are getting a spoof email at some point every month. And that's the power of it, because then they'll just be more vigilant because they know it's coming. And this is the key. It's just about making it. It's okay to second guess. And that's the thing. It's really creating that environment, but almost, making it you want them to really understand what the risks are and just to be second guessing everything. Even an internal email, if they just watched a training video about how spoof attacks can happen, then they should just second guess everything. That if something is really out of character and it's asking for something unusual, like a payment to be made, then they should second guess it. So, and then the next thing that we've promised for you, if you would like it, is we do actually have an IT policy checklist that we can send to you. So if you would like this, feel free to email me, or if you, as I say, you can go on any of our social media channels or reply to the invite that you received, and we will send you a link so that you can download this IT policy. And this is a checklist with just lots of the different areas that you should have for a good IT policy. So, in terms of the training and the different areas that you should be covering. So I won't talk too much about that, but as I say, you will get a free IT policy checklist just for a thank you for spending your time with this. So we will, we're going to go into the questions and answers in a second. But before I talk about some other bits and pieces, if you are interested in improving your overall security of your business, then it will be a great idea to follow us. The most popular is our LinkedIn, Syn-Star IT support. If you just search Syn-Star, then we will come up on all of the main social media channels. So it's well worth dropping us a follow on there. So, but what would we recommend? So the main recommendations are going to is first of all, regular training, monthly ideally. Create the systems, good password management, good behaviors, encourage speed. Speed is, oh my God, I've just clicked on something, I'm going to report it as fast as I can. That's the thing, speed. Train your existing and your new employees by default. Build the systems, make sure it happens. That's the thing. If you forget to do the new onboarding, that's really bad, because as your business grows, and remember, we are fostering teams of employees that they move jobs regularly. You don't know that the people you've just employed, their previous companies had good cyber training. So you really need to make sure that your teams do, regardless of how long they've been there. And just make it a real part of the culture. It's okay to talk about these sorts of things. You don't want someone to go, oh my God, I just clicked on something, I'm stupid. They then close their laptop and hope that it didn't happen, and hope that it won't be there the next time they open their laptop. It will be there, but by then it may be too late and it's now infected the rest of the network within the business. So it's all about making sure that you report these. And whether you're reporting them to your manager, the business owner, the IT person internally, or actually send it in a ticket to your IT support company if you're using outsourced IT, because they can always just run an additional scan on your device just to make sure. And if they've got the right protection in place, actually, they will have already created that. It should have already picked up an alert on that device. So, but don't just hide from it, because that can be the worst thing to do. So it is just about, as I say, just report it as much as you can. So before we do the questions and answers, if any of you are interested in having a discussion about cyber training, cyber testing, it's super easy. We can connect it to your Microsoft 365 tenant, which means as and when you add staff, take away staff, it's a really seamless approach. And also what we offer as a thank you for you watching this webinar is that you can get the setup for free and also the first month for free. So normally there is a setup charge and the first month. So that's why, as I say, as you've watched this, we will honor that for you. So to claim the offer, get in touch today and just say that you've watched the webinar. So let's go to the questions and answers. Right, so we have older staff. What would you recommend for getting them into the 21st century? Right, yeah, we would say if you do, regardless actually of age, we would definitely say just start. Just start doing the training. Again, when people start watching the training, if there's videos that they like, if they've found anything on YouTube, anything at all, we would just say just start doing it. But the main thing you can do is encourage it within the business and give them the time to do it. Don't kind of just expect them to do it in their own time or to somehow create time. Almost say, right, actually for the first 10 minutes of a Friday, I want you to, I don't know whether it's you go on YouTube and look at those, or if you've got more of an automated platform, which is what Syn-Star can help you with, because we make sure that the training is done because we're actually sending it to them directly. So that can certainly be the best way of doing it. But if you're manually training, then yeah, just try and give them the time to do it. Next one is, how often should a business run training and, I think that's supposed to say phishing trials and tests? Regularly, generally we would say weekly is too much. Potentially to begin with, if you want to sort of try and get them up to speed as quick as possible, then potentially weekly, but usually we would say monthly works pretty well. Once you're in the flow of it, once a month is great for your training, once a month for your phishing tests. So that's generally what industry standard we would say. Potentially every fortnight. It really depends on your feelings as the business, but maybe monthly is usually a really good benchmark. Right, how do we avoid employees feeling punished or embarrassed when they fail a test? What will match? What will help? Sorry, what will help stop this? Okay, so I would say there's not an absolute answer. It's more, I would say it's more to do with the culture of your business. If you've got very much a sharing recognition culture, great, this is going to dovetail in perfectly to it. If you've got depending on what the communication is like within the business, if you've got lots of people spread across the world or across the UK, and you don't necessarily have everyone in the same office, then I would just say more communication using, whether it's your intranet, whether it's multiple communications through Teams or emails. The main thing is that you're just driving it from the top, but make sure it's consistently sent out. It's not just a one-off approach. And the thing is, first and foremost, explain to people, look, actually, the more you share, the more you're showing that you care, and the more you're going to help the business as a whole. So that can be a really powerful one. So but it's a difficult question to answer because it really depends on the culture of your business and how you currently do things. But how you're currently doing things that work well is the key. How do you measure improvement over time? How do we track who has completed the training and who hasn't? Yeah, good question. So again, with our platform, you can see who's completed it, who hasn't. We can send reminders and things. But I would just say, however you would normally do it, if you're manually going to be training them, again, you can normally see who's viewed things and monitor that side of things. But also you can dovetail it into, if you're sitting down with all your team once a quarter, for example, then try and add that in as part of your reviews with your team, because again, it's trying to really keep it front of mind for that. So that can be a really good one. Right, another question had in, is there a generic scan you do on managed PCs to detect malware? Not really, not a generic scan as such. I mean, depending on what software you're using. Now, here's the thing. There's two types of actual scanning and monitoring that you should have on your machines. So the first one is you've got your overarching antivirus. But the problem is with antivirus, it's still great and everyone should have it. But there is a slight issue in that it runs off of known threats. So, for example, the way the world works in antivirus is there's a global list of known viruses, and it's known is the key. So if, for example, someone invents a new virus and then we find out about it through them hacking people, then the cyber software companies will create fixes and detection elements for that known virus, so that then when you do your weekly updates or however often you update your antivirus programs, it should then know about it. So then when you do a scan, it will scan for all known malware, viruses, etc., etc. But the problem is that's about known devices, and because with AI there's more and more new things coming out. And of course, what will happen with the new one is if the antivirus has never heard of it, there's a good chance it will just allow it in. And this is where you need that second element, which is called EDR, which is endpoint detection and response. And what that does is it's constantly looking at abnormalities within your devices. And it will just send an alert and say, what's this? I don't know what this is. There's something strange here. Now, it could be it's just an update that Adobe did, for example. And all we need to do is go in and say, yeah, that's correct. It was genuine Adobe. It's fine. Green light it and away you go. And that's most of the alerts, to be honest, are normally those. So they are false positives. But if there's not, then that's when the alert comes in, and actually the alerts will be more severe because it will say there's something here and it's doing stuff that I really don't like. I don't know what it is. Please search. And that's why it's really about the quality of the cyber protection that you've got on your devices. And then usually if you've got a decent enterprise level protection, that will have a really good scanner in place where it will scan everything that it knows and everything that it's unsure about. So I hope that's answered that question. But it's really difficult. If I know exactly what you've got, then I can probably give you more detailed. But again, my details are there. My email address, say giles@syn-star.co.uk. Feel free to drop me an email. I can give you a proper answer. So it's a real difficult one to sorry, I've just skipped away from the questions. It's a real difficult one to give a sort of a really good answer, but hopefully that helped. Right, a couple more questions to go. How do we handle repeat offenders who keep clicking? That's a great one. Whether again, company culture, do you give them an award, but it's more of a tongue-in-cheek award? Yeah, just more training, really. Them understanding the risks, them understanding the implications of, if they click, then that's what will happen. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, be really harsh and say, if you carry on, we're going to get rid of you. But no, that's obviously not the right HR rules. So, but yeah, just training and that acceptance that, look, hopefully they're not doing it maliciously. is the big thing, and just explain what the risks are is really what it's about. But do dovetail it into potentially there when you're sitting down and reviewing how their employment's going. So how do we ensure these tests and training don't disrupt productivity? Yeah, really good question. Again, this is where we say if you do it monthly and it's short and sharp, so the video training generally around sort of 5, 6, 7 minutes, that's not a member of your team, if they're not able to perform at their best and all you've done is taken 7 minutes of their time, then maybe, you know, they're making excuses up for something else. Normally we would say, you know, the training and testing that we can do, it's so quick and easy, it dovetails into their working day, so there shouldn't be an excuse. Is really what it's about. If they are making up excuses, then yeah, you know, I would say there's possibly a deeper, you know, a deeper issue there. So right, I think that's the final question that I've got. Yeah, it's looking that way. So thank you very much for your time. Say my details are on the screen. Giles at syn-star.co.uk. Also, any feedback would be welcomed. And also, if there's any topics, subjects, anything at all that you would like me or Syn-Star to cover, then please do get in contact and do feel free to connect or follow me on LinkedIn. That's the place that I'm normally hanging around. So it's just search for Giles Cleverly. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.